Is it time to go back to Nepal? On 25th of April and May 12, 2015, deadly earthquakes struck central Nepal, causing catastrophic damage to Kathmandu and the surrounding valleys. Harrowing pictures of magnificent temples turned to rubble and concrete hotels collapsed on their foundations were beamed around the world. 5 months on from the disaster, Nepal has declared itself open for tourism, but is now the right time to come back to Nepal, and what exactly will you find when you get here? Assessing the damage. Media images at the time of the earthquakes made it look as though Nepal was completely destroyed, with its astonishing cultural heritage in ruins. The truth makes for less sensational headlines. While 130 historic temples collapsed across the country, only 14 of Nepal's 75 districts suffered damage, and many of Nepal's most famous sites escaped completely unscathed. Kathmandu. Kathmandu suffered the full force of the earthquakes, and damage was extensive, but localized to specific parts of the city. 4 of the iconic temples in the UNESCO-listed Durbar Square collapsed completely, including the multi-tiered Majudawal Temple, one of Kathmandu's most famous landmarks, but the majority of temples still stand and the square is once again open to sightseers. Patan, Bhaktapur and the Kathmandu Valley. Despite the loss of some landmark monuments, including the famous Charnarayan and Hari Shankar temples, Patan's Durbar Square and its stunning Patan Museum are open as normal. The quakes took a heavy toll on the traditional brick buildings of Bhaktapur, but here too, most of the medieval temples are still standing, including Nepal's tallest, the 5-story Nyatapala Temple. Across the country. Looking beyond the Kathmandu Valley, the historic towns of Nuwakot and Gorkha and their fortress palaces were particularly badly affected due to their proximity to the epicenters of the 2 tremors, and the quakes caused extensive damage to the road to the Tibetan border and the Langtang Valley. However, away from the center of the country, there are few signs that the earthquake ever happened. Traveling to Nepal after the earthquake. The key thing to note is that infrastructure for tourists was remarkably unaffected by the disaster. Airports are operating as normal and almost all of Kathmandu's tourist hotels and restaurants remain open, or will reopen for the winter tourist season, though business is currently slim. Kathmandu's traveler district of Thamel is much as it was before the disaster, and transportation around the city, the Kathmandu Valley and the country continues as normal. Trekking after the disaster. The majority of Nepal's trekking trails are open, but some routes remain closed because of landslides and damaged paths, bridges and trekking lodges. International earthquake surveyors Miyamoto International have assessed the structural stability of routes and lodges in the Annapurna and Everest regions, and both regions have been declared safe for trekkers. So should I go? In August, the US and UK lifted their countrywide travel advisories against travel to Nepal, meaning that travelers and companies can once again get travel insurance for upcoming trips. Most Western travel companies plan to run trekking trips as normal for the 2015-16 winter and spring seasons, and some companies are even offering special reconstruction treks, though it's now more important than ever to do some research and partner with a reliable NGO that has long established links with the country.